All right, hey everybody, Erica with One Berkshire, and I'm here with Kristen Van Ginhoven from the WAM Theater. We are in Women in Business Month. It's our second interview, and we're going to be treated to yet another amazing conversation. So strap on your seatbelt, because here we go. So Kristen, amazing work that you've been doing. You're almost in your 10th season at WAM Theater.
Yes.
So you've been doing this for 10 years now.
Yes, next year's our 10th year anniversary. So actually the Good News Business Salute is sort of our pre-launch of celebrating our 10-year anniversary. So we're very excited.
So the Good News Business Salute she's talking about, I'll make a quick plug for that. On October 24th, we're going to be saluting not only WAM Theater, but a few other companies that are all women-run companies in the middle of Women in Business Month. So come on out, and Kristen just happens to be the keynote speaker at that event too. So if you can't get enough of this lady, come on October 24th, and you can find more information about that on the One Berkshire website. So tell me a story. Like, how did this whole idea of WAM Theater come into your mind and then into creation?
Well, I moved to America actually in 2007, 2008. And I'm Canadian, and I had been living in Europe, and so I moved from Brussels, Belgium to America, and I wasn't able to work, obviously. And here I was. I had all this kind of natural-born privilege in all the different ways, and I was the first time in my life where I thought, like, I can't work. And I got kind of depressed because I was in the Berkshires surrounded by all this incredible culture, all these incredible organizations, and I wasn't able to work. And then I read a book called Half the Sky, Turning Oppression into Opportunity for Women Worldwide by Nicholas Kristen. You've read it.
Yes.
And Cheryl Wudunn.
So good.
And they've spent like 30 odd years working for advocating for women's rights around the world. And the book is just full of stories, and I'm a storyteller, so my heart is always engaged by story. And the book was just filled with these stories of these incredible women all around the world who have found a way to turn their oppression into opportunity. There was just something inside them that drove them forward, and I just so admired that innate resilience and that innate drive to turn their oppression into opportunity. And I thought, I'm feeling really upset about not being able to work in my field here in the beautiful Berkshires. And I just put the book down, and I think sometimes, Erica, you read books at the right time in your life and they make an impact in a certain way. And I just thought immediately, I want to be able to support these incredible people who work on the front lines in these women's issues like sexual trafficking or gender violence, including honor killings and rape, maternal mortality, girls' education, financial literacy. A lot of these people who are working so hard to deal with these issues. And being on the front lines was not something that I felt at the time I could do, but I wanted to support the people who did. So the idea was that I would raise money to put on a professional theater show, and then I would use the money that we made from the box office, and I would donate it to the organizations who are on the front lines dealing with these issues.
Wow.
And that's what we do.
And what I like about this is you didn't have to just pick one issue to be super passionate about. In the line of work you've picked by doing theater performances, you've been able to share resources with a lot of different issues.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like obviously I'm passionate and feel really strongly about a ton of issues affecting our world right now. I'm putting all of my eggs into the women and girls basket because I believe that if we can tackle that issue, it will trickle down and it will really make an effect on poverty and climate change and a lot of the issues, education for all, and a lot of the things that I feel really strongly about. So that's what I've done, and it has allowed us to make an impact on different organizations locally and globally, and provide jobs for other artists like myself who want to live in the Berkshires and not in the middle of New York City and want to earn a living as an artist, and to shine a light on women's stories and women playwrights. You know, less than 20% of all plays produced around the country are written by women.
Wow.
And audiences don't care. I mean, I'm sure anybody listening, if they think about what makes them go to a play, I don't know that many people think about whether the gender of the playwright is male or female or trans, or they just go to a play because they know someone in it, or they're interested in the content, or they want to have a night out, or they've heard it's really good. They don't care about the gender of the playwright, so there's no reason why that percentage needs to be so low.
Yeah, I'm shocked by that statistic, 20%.
The Berkshires is higher because we are not representative in a lot of those areas, but it's still not 50-50 even in the Berkshires.
Well, and this leads into my next question, which is, so being in an industry that in some ways has minority women, what kind of challenges, are there any challenges you've faced in your trajectory of your career that you want to share with us that we could maybe benefit from?
In my own career, well, when I started, I was an actor, and as a Canadian, my dream was to be in the acting company of the Stratford Festival of Canada, which is the second largest classical theater company in the world after the Royal Shakespeare Company in England. So I spent a good portion of my 20s trying to get into that acting company because I was really passionate about classical theater. And obviously, as a Shakespearean theater at the time, they would take like 20 men and 3 women, so my chances were so low. So I had to give up that dream until in my 40s when I was actually hired by the Stratford Festival as a director. So it was an interesting thing to try to come full circle. And also now, of course, like the roles they don't have to be played by white men, and so you have a lot of the roles in classical canon are being rethought and cast in different ways, and white male is not the default, which is great.
So how did you shift from actor to directing?
So when I was turning 30, I was living in Toronto, and I was actually doing well as an actor, but doing well as an actor means that you have a couple or a few regional theater gigs every year, and you still have to usually do other jobs to supplement your income. And when I was turning 30, I was just really feeling I was being a temporary secretary. I never did the waitering, catering thing. That was not me. I was much more the office administrator, temporary secretary person. And I just felt like my potential wasn't being fulfilled. And so I did what many actors do, and I went and got my teaching degree, because I thought I could take people's maternity leaves or something like that. But what ended up happening is the university where I went to get my education degree, they had something called an international recruiting fair. I'd never heard of it. I never knew about the international school system. I highly recommend it. It's an incredible way to see the world, have your eyes open to so many different things, pay off your student debt, get to travel and earn a nice living.
So you did that.
So I did that. I went to that international recruiting fair. I remember standing on the stairs. It was the first time in my life I was ever in demand as an artist. And I remember standing on the stairs and saying to my friends, should I go to Ecuador, Thailand, Saudi Arabia, or Brussels?
Wow.
And I made a decision in 24 hours, and I spent 4 years in Brussels, and I got to travel the world. And my students were from 65 different countries, and it just made my whole horizons kind of do that. It was amazing.
That's fantastic. And that actually leads into my next question, which I would consider that mentoring advice. That's great mentoring advice. If you were to put on your mentoring hat right now, would there be any other pieces of advice? You're an accomplished woman in business. There are a lot of maybe aspiring women in business out there. What might you share with them?
There are 2 things that I kind of hold dear, and one of them was actually something that Jane Iredale, who runs Iredale Cosmetics here in the Berkshires, she said at a women in business dinner, that I saw somehow through a live stream where she talked about follow through. She said, if you say you're going to do something, do it. All too often, people will say they're going to do something, and then there's a real lack of follow through. Yeah. And so this idea of, if I say something out loud, that means that I am going to do it. And I hope, knock on wood, that when people think of me, they think of me as somebody who, if Kristen says she's gonna do it, she's gonna do it. So that's one. And then the other thing that
I've only known you 7 months, and I've already personally experienced that.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. How?
Well, with the dinner
with
party
the pond
thing,
project.
with the pond project that you did. You
Yes.
said, I'm going to do that thing, and then before I knew it, there was an invitation waiting for me to come to a dinner and talk about being a woman expressing emotions.
Oh, that's so great.
Yeah.
Yes. So I
follow through.
I have a lot of respect for that pearl of wisdom from Jane Iredale. And then the second thing is is just persistence. What I've learned as a Canadian living in America, and it's probably a life skill that is valuable, is, and it's something that I wouldn't say all women have challenges with, but I know that there is quite a bit of research about how it can be challenging for us to keep asking, keep asking. Because we feel like it's disrespectful, or we don't want to bother people, or, well, we asked and they need time to think. But to be honest, everybody's so busy being the star of their own movie. It's like there's so little room for anybody else to have like a role, an extra role. So I've learned to just, the power of persisting, of following up with people, not as in a respectful way, but just and how that the length of time it can take for that to actually pay off can be years. But like to build a relationship with a sponsor, and just to persist in inviting them to shows, trying to meet them at events or going for tea with them. And if the fit is right, if they're passionate about what we're doing, and if we're passionate about how they are in our community and how they represent our community, and the fit feels right, then the persistence pays off.
And maybe another way of saying that is, don't be discouraged if immediately something isn't happening. It might really be like you're saying, they're just busy.
Yeah.
It's not a no, it's just a stay with me.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm an incredibly impatient person, but this playing the long game business, when possible, that is a great view to take.
Awesome.
I work hard on that as an impatient person.
It's good to know where you need to work, right?
Yes.
So let's end with, I always like to ask this question. We're shouting you out right now, but there
Thank
are
you.
other amazing women in business. You're welcome. Who would you like to shout out? Who are some other women that inspire you, especially Berkshire-based? We're trying to keep it Berkshire-based.
There are, I feel like there's just so many incredibly inspiring women in the Berkshires. I'm lucky to be part of this. It's called the Sisterhood Group. It was started by Karen Zink, who's the president of Berkshire Gas, Pam Lumphy, and Christine Hazard from Berkshire United Way after the 2016 election. And Karen Zink is kind of the energizer bunny behind it. And through that group, I've just met this extraordinary community of women in the Berkshires, from Jean Clark Michelle to Gwendolyn Hampton Van Zant to Kelly Marion at the Gladys Brigham Center, obviously all of the female leaders of the other cultural institutions. I have always loved Lori Norton Moffett, who runs the Norman Rockwell Museum. I look to her, and I was, when I first came here, Ella Baff was running Jacob's Pillow, and I really looked to her as somebody who really combined business savvy with community relationships in a way that I wanted to emulate.
Nice.
So those are some.
Yeah, I know you could name many more, but
Tons.
we won't do that.
Molly, who runs Frankie's, is someone I'm really inspired by in Lenox too.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you for coming on here and letting us talk about you for a while. I know sometimes that can be, pressure situation to have the spotlight on you, but you've done amazingly, you've taken it well, and you've shined. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for taking the time to come to the
And
WAM office.
Yes, here we are at the WAM office, and this is the show that's coming up.
Talk about an inspiring woman.
Yeah, right?
A bunch of inspiring women. The play that is about Ann Richards, it was written by Holland Taylor, and it's starring Jane Atkinson. I mean,
and it was directed by
me.
Yes, so
Yes.
4 amazing women. Awesome.
In October.
In October,
Women in Business Month.
So,
Great way to celebrate Women in Business Month.
Right, now you have an event to go to join in with all this.
Yes.
All right, Kristen, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you all for watching. We'll see you again with another awesome interview tomorrow. Bye.